Today's guests are Brittany and Drew, otherwise known as Mr. and Mrs. Adventure. They are awesome because they're not your typical van-dwelling couple, if there is such a thing as a typical van-dwelling couple. They are located in Europe to add a whole new flair and twist to the story. And we get to go behind the scenes of what it's really like to live in a van. It's not Instagram pretty all the time.
Yes, they have a great story. They have a really cute meet cute story, which, Gwen and I always love to get that out of people, and I think you'll like it too. So let's hear the real talk. I think a lot of us out there are imagining what it would be like if we quit everything and went off on the road to live out our dreams, but we only see the rosy side on Insta. So we're going to get some real talk and understand exactly what it's really like, both the pluses and the minuses. Let's go.
Welcome to Fire Drill Podcast, where side hustles, savings, and creativity lead to financial independence. With your hosts, Gwen from Fiery Millennials and Jay from Millennial Boss.
Hey everyone, we have Brittany and Drew from Mr. and Mrs. Adventure in the house tonight. Hey guys.
Hi.
Hey, how's it going?
Very good. And Gwen is here too.
Going well. Thanks for asking.
I didn't ask you how you were, but I'm sure you're great because you're enjoying day 2 of quit your job freedom.
I am indeed. It's wonderful.
It must feel good. So speaking of having kind of an alternative lifestyle, Brittany and Drew, tell us a little about yourselves.
Well, as you said, we're Mr. and Mrs. Adventure, and for the past 3 years, we've been traveling across the world in a camper van. First year, we did America and Canada, and we stuck Iceland in there. And for the past 2 years, we've been living in a converted Ford Transit, traveling across all of Europe and some of North Africa, too.
It's been our extended honeymoon, and we don't want to stop anytime soon.
So you guys have recently gotten married then?
Yeah, 2 years ago, the beginning of 2016, and that's what prompted us to take our van to international destinations to experience more diverse cultures.
5 days after our wedding, we flew to England and we bought a camper van over there because it was going to be easier with the language. And we traveled across England in a camper van in search of that perfect van home. So we rented one first and then used that to search for the one that we would buy, which we found pretty quickly. And then we took it from England to Ireland to Scotland, took a ferry into Holland and Austria.
Went to Austria, Germany, all the way down to Croatia, Bosnia, Montenegro, and then went back to Germany, left it for a little bit of time, came back to the U.S., and took a little hiatus because of our visa. And then we ended up doing Scandinavia and just really loved it. Then we came back at the beginning of this year after spending time with our families during the holidays and did Morocco for 3 months. So we're fresh off Morocco and back here in the U.S. for 1 month while we wait out our visa to get back into Portugal.
And we have to mention France. We have always gone back to the same one place in France where my dad's family is from. It's called Quiberon, and it's in the region of Brittany. And so it's been a blessing to be able to reconnect with family who I hadn't been since I was a little girl. So that's been really nice, too.
We've been all about traveling slow rather than trying to see as many countries as possible so we can immerse ourselves and really get to know a place.
That's hard to do, though, sometimes because we're like, oh, but we want to see this and that. And yeah,
we can imagine.
I literally can't imagine what it's like to live in a van and travel around Europe, although it sounds super amazing because I love the VW camper vans, and they don't make them in the U.S. anymore. They stopped making them in 92 or something. And so if you look, Europe sells these amazing VW California vans, and they are like the classic VW vans, except, brand new, and they diesel and they're awesome. But it would cost you an arm and a leg to ship it to the U.S., and even then I'm not sure it'd be street legal. Yeah, Europe definitely has some leg ups on the U.S. for camping.
They have some of the coolest
the
vans.
Dutch and Germans are so innovative and creative in keeping some of the vehicles street worthy in Europe.
The French too.
Yeah, and they just do some really unique interiors to them and cool styles.
I don't think I have talked to anybody that's taken a 2-year honeymoon before. And that's amazing. Most people get 1 week.
I know. Yeah, 2 years and counting.
We feel pretty lucky.
So Gwen and I, we love a good meet cute. So how did you guys meet?
That's a great story.
How fun. We were in college.
We went to the University of Florida, and we both applied for internship in marketing for JanSport, the backpack company.
And after interviewing over 400 kids, they chose us two to be paired together as a team. And
they flew us to San Francisco for training, and that's actually where we met person to person for the first time.
And then throughout working together that first semester, it was just a 1-semester internship. We decided to put on a kind of a JanSport sponsored camping trip. And that was actually my first time camping ever in my life. And my sleeping bag zipper was broken. We were sleeping in the bottom of a cave, which was freezing.
We went splunking.
Yeah. And Drew had to snuggle close because we were sleeping on a rock.
Hard internship for a guy.
Yeah, no, okay. So here's the question, Brittany. Did your sleeping bag zipper break? Wink, wink, wink. Or was it like actually like legit not broken?
Okay.
It stayed zipped all night.
No, it was truly broken. I was like my sleeping bag from sleepovers from when I was a kid. I was so not prepared for this camping trip, but I had a blast.
And the next day, after we'd been in the cave for, I don't know, umpteen hours, she came out and had mud all over her face, but the biggest smile ear to ear. And I know, okay, this girl's going to work out. So it went from there.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute. I met my husband at an internship too.
Really?
Yeah, we met at the Olympic Training Center. We were both interns leading up to London.
Oh, amazing.
Wow, in Colorado Springs?
Yes. Yep.
Wow.
Whoa.
It was super. It was a great experience. And yeah, it all worked out. So cool, guys. So you knew that each other had a love of adventure, and now you've kind of made this your life. How old are you guys, by the way, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 29, but I'll be 30 on May 6th.
And I turned 30 last July.
Woohoo! I'm 29 too.
Ooh.
Yes.
We're on the cusp.
The good years.
The good years, right? Let's pause this forever. Cool.
I'll get there eventually.
Yeah, Gwen's the baby.
I guess I'm the baby of the group at 27.
Yep. You know, when you guys are like approaching 30, what do you think about what you do for jobs? Which, by the way, anyone listening who can multitask right now, like I hope you're not driving or something, go to their Instagram account, Mr. and Mrs. Adventure, and it's gonna like paint the whole picture for you. Because they have 1,000 like most amazing travel photos. I actually found them on Instagram. So you gotta like do that right now just to kind of get the full picture. But tell us, like, what are you thinking about your life? Like, you guys are travel entrepreneurs. What kind of thoughts come to mind?
Well, first, thank you for the kind thoughts on our Instagram. That's Insta-love.
It's not hard to take photos of my beautiful wife.
Oh,
Aww.
you're cute. Or a cozy van. But I'll let Drew go first.
You know, it's really been about how we can keep going on the road and maintain our freedom. And so I've been blessed with the opportunity to remotely manage a business back in the Midwest that I had worked for years ago. And things just kind of came full circle. And I partnered with a radiologist that interprets x-rays. And so my agreement is that I'll go back there 4 times a year. So that complicates the path of the van to some degree, but it's been really rewarding and been a really fantastic situation that I can work on my computer on the road and keep us going.
So being able to live and work on the road has its perks, but also it has its setbacks. Because when you live in a van, you are limited in some ways. So let's say that I aspire to teach yoga, but we can't really live in the parking lot of the yoga studios, or all of the really great yoga studios are, you know, where it's more populated. But when you live in a van, you want to be able to be where like there's flower fields and places where you can shower outside and slide open your door and love where you are rather than being on the side of a road. So that's one limitation. And having been doing this now for 3 years and almost turning 30, we're like, okay, well, we want to start a family in a few years. We kind of want to start to set ourselves upright for growth in a different kind of way. And how are we going to do that living in a van in Europe? Maybe we should start to think about what we want life to be like when we come back to the U.S. If we come back to the U.S. and we custom convert the van of our dreams, which has been our most vibrant thought these days, is that going to hold us back in some of the ways that we want to grow? Or can we maybe
figure out a balanced relationship between the mobility and chasing after the landscapes and unique places and people we want to see on the road, and establishing that community in one place or furthering our careers for something that maybe isn't so easy to continue doing on the road.
Exactly. Or, should I focus on what is easier to grow while living on the road and just know in my heart that in a few years' time, I will be able to do those other things that work better when you're more planted in one place.
I think also a big hurdle along the way being in Europe is the language barrier. And it really makes it harder in terms of trying to work in a place. And of course, with visa laws, et cetera, they don't want you to stay in those countries permanently. So for us to come back to the US and do something similar, traveling in a camper van opens up a world of entrepreneurship and possibilities. Yeah. And we're just blossoming with ideas that we want to take to the next level once we have the ability to repetitively go to places and establish our ideas and turn them into maybe a viable business or just a way to give back to communities.
There's so many ways that I just can't wait to work because I mostly take care of our blog and the things like that, which is excellent because through Instagram and other social media things, we're able to get experiences taken care of or at least get, some sort of deal worked out if we share our experience in a way that either provides photos or
creates awareness for a business or for some really cool experience.
Yeah, so that's been great, but it doesn't bring in money. And I've never wanted our blog to be something where we put ads. And I don't know, I just wanted it to be something really organic and true to who we are. And so I haven't actually had an income of my own since we've been on the road.
Yeah, from time to time, we've been paid for different opportunities that come up for creating videos or writing content or working for our friend's company in Vibed.
Just no actual consistent thing has it been for me to make money. And I kind of miss that feeling. I miss bringing value like that. And so I have all these projects and would love to publish a book of our time in Morocco because that was just so incredible. And I handwrite my journal and I've just been pretty much writing a book throughout this whole time as my job.
If you want to peek at something else and see how amazing her handwriting is, Brittany's Instagram is Her Adventure, and she handcrafts these beautiful, artful pages of our experiences on the road, along with flowers and other unique stubs along the way that are just really thought-provoking.
Yeah, so when we're back, I feel like that book can be put together finally.
Brittany, are you familiar with the website Reddit?
Yes.
There's a subreddit on there that's devoted to handwriting, and they would probably love it to see your handwriting. I think it's our penmanship.
Ooh, this is exciting. I'm making a note now.
Yeah, so the reason that I'm asking you, and sorry for diving so quickly into the Real Talk van life, but the reason behind this is that this community and the podcast that we have, it's, including us, it's people that right now they're trying to achieve this concept of financial independence where they don't have to worry about money necessarily and they can kind of pursue their dreams in whatever they want to do. And a lot of people, they want to do something like long-term travel or van life. And we all kind of glamorize it, and there's so many awesome things about it. I mean, you guys have had incredible adventures over the 3 years, but at the same time, we don't really know what it's actually like.
Yeah.
And also, a lot of these people are planning on maybe not working, working on projects, but not working for money. So it's curious to kind of hear that as much as it's amazing, you do have a calling to produce work.
I think a big part of it too is understanding your finances and learning how to shrink down your expenditures and figure out where you really only need to spend money. For us, we figured out that we could live on $1,000 a month per person, really even less. And so that was a big part for us, is how do we minimize all of our expenses to do this? And therefore, you realize when you break it down, you only need to earn so much to be able to sustain on the road. And I think a lot of van lifers have really broke it down. And most people have started on a kind of a year or 6 month savings once they've purchased their van. And so that's been really big thing for figuring out how to keep on the road.
With what you were saying, people who don't think that they're going to, work and they're just going to save up and go and travel and work on projects but not have a job, eventually you start to wonder how you're contributing to civilization and, I don't know, to the world. At least after 3 years, it hit me in a way. Like, I want to use my talents. I want to use my passions. I want to bring value. And the same with Drew. Like, yes, he's managing this office and that's allowing us to travel, but that's not what he wants to do in his heart. He has so many other aspirations and visions for what he wants to do with his life and who he wants to be. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, so now we can ask you a few softballs now that I just took us down that path. Thank you, by the way. So what's like your biggest story where you connected the most with a local or like on your trip? Like something kind of surprising.
I know one.
Go.
Benjamin. We were just looking for the trailhead for this hike in
Luxembourg.
Luxembourg.
It was right on the border of Luxembourg and France, and the trail went between both countries.
Called the Trail of Dreams because you didn't need your passport to go in between the borders. So we're walking through. It happened to be market day, and we see this scraggly little man with glasses and a low ponytail, and he's selling these Italian gluten-free cookies, and I'm allergic to gluten, and I love cookies.
Okay, so when I was poking around on your blog, I saw that you were gluten-free, and so I was going to ask you about that because I am also unable to eat gluten. And so a lot of the things that you were talking about, like, totally related to me. And I was like, in fact, I just moved to Minneapolis. And so I was reading your post on Minneapolis.
Yeah.
And you recommended this place, like the Sassy Spoon or something like that. And I looked at it and I had no idea this place existed. And I will be going there because it looks amazing.
There's 2 places in Minneapolis that we wrote about. So dig a little bit deeper because the other one was even better.
Done. Okay. Sorry to interrupt your story. Luxembourg, France, gluten-free cookies. Go.
So we had to get our hands on those gluten-free cookies. We went up to the little desk that he had and we started talking with him, and he realized that we weren't from around here, and we explained a little bit of our story, that we were traveling in a camper van, and he asked what we were doing that evening, and we honestly weren't really doing anything. And so we were like, well, we're going to maybe camp around here. And he goes, no, well, tonight you'll come to my house and we'll have a barbecue. And he seemed very assured and like very inviting. And we're like, well, we don't have a good reason why not to. We don't know this guy. We're in. It was just like one of those opportunities that gets put in front of you and you can't help but just walk through it.
You got to say yes and just see what happens.
Yeah. And so we ended up going on our hike, and he had told us to meet him at his address at 6:00, and he would bring the meat and we would bring the wine. So we arrived. It was actually pouring down rain, but we thought, well, hopefully there's some sort of an indoor situation. But Benjamin had basically built his home out of found objects, and he lived in a campground, and his grill had no lid. The lid was an upside down shovel. And long story short, he ended up being one of the kindest, most kind-hearted,
down to earth,
interesting,
just organic.
Yeah. Fascinating person.
Basically living off the land and kind of adding to his income by selling the cookies on the side.
And he gave us a hammock that he carved his name into the wood, and a tomato plant that we kept in the dash of our van and that my family planted in France because it needed a bigger home by the time we got there.
It wasn't doing too good with the sunlight baking on it constantly in the windshield of the van.
Yeah, and it was getting too big. It was like blocking our view. So
I can't imagine traveling with a tomato plant. I mean, those things, A, I'm not a big fan of tomatoes, but B, the plants just stink.
Really?
My mom insisted upon growing tomatoes when I was younger, and I always had to weed around them and care for them. I don't like tomatoes, so it's like, ugh.
Well, we named the tomato plant Benjamin
in his honor.
In his honor, and then my family renamed it Luxembourg. Yeah, we'll never forget him.
Yeah.
And of course, Morocco had a ton of locals.
Over the time in all the countries and all the places we've been, we've met so many friendly locals who have just went out of their way to make sure that we're experiencing hospitality of the local region. We've had everything from hotel nights given to us that somebody else wasn't going to be able to use in Amsterdam, to staying at a shop owner giving us access to his penthouse apartment just to hang out for the afternoon before we went and explored the rest of the city.
He literally gave us the keys to his apartment.
Yeah.
Gave us $20 credit at his store, and then gave us the keys to his apartment and told us we could shower, sleep, eat whatever we wanted.
Yeah, that's a shout out to nice. Montreal. Yeah, fantastic guy. We just mailed him a postcard just to say thank you, and we were thinking of him the other day.
Yeah, and I don't think people in Europe are used to Americans in a camper van over there, and we hear time and time again, it's so nice to see you exploring outside of your country.
Yeah, I think the news and everything just builds up a scene that's kind of fearful. So a lot of people don't maybe travel the same way in Morocco or in Africa, let alone just going to cities to, experience and sightsee. But when you get to the nitty gritty and travel in a van, you are very vulnerable and you're with the locals all the time, just off the beaten path.
In Morocco, we only met Americans in 2 locations. That was Fez and Marrakesh. Yeah. And that was in 3 months.
Wow. Yeah, those are the type of things. So we talked about how we're about the same age. And my husband and I also, we plan to have kids. There's a weird window, where you can do things like this. Although we did have a Vanlife single mom on and she travels with her son. And I know there are people who live with kids. So there are people doing this type of thing with kids. But definitely, with babies, I can't see how that could work. Maybe there are people doing it. I just need to open my mind to it. But it's kind of it's either now or never, and I'm kind of missing my window, I guess. I don't know. So it's interesting to talk to you guys. Do you feel on the other end that, maybe you wish you had the corporate experience, which you probably don't. Who wishes that they were in a cubicle, right? But I don't know.
Right.
I think sometimes when we talk about career paths, sometimes we kind of question, did we make all the right choices? And did we, other people are building experience in a single faceted skill. And down the road later, it's where's this go? But we know how our minds are open through the experience and how rounded we now are. And we know that's super, super valuable. So it's just a different dimension. And maybe it doesn't equal in terms of pay at the moment, but we know that we wouldn't choose it for the world to do anything other than what we've done.
And I think the huge reason behind why we wouldn't do it differently is because we know deep inside of our hearts, we wouldn't be pursuing our dreams if we were working in a cubicle. We have a dream for our future, but that requires us to really believe in us going our own way. And we won't reveal all of the details, but when we come back to the US and we're finally able to dig our hands in and create what we've been waiting to create, that's going to be hard work. It'll be harder than trying to, get employed, but we're happily unemployable.
It's really interesting because we both could tell you countless times that we've been in US or Europe or Canada where we see old retired people, and nothing against them doing it at later age, but we see them unable to maybe do the hikes or have the mobility, but they have the time and the money. And it's they did their career and now they're finally getting a time to relax and think about what they enjoy doing and their passion rather than kind of what they were swept into in their late teens, 20s. And so it's kind of a thing where they're trying to figure out themselves now. And then they see us getting to think about it and do it at a young age. And everyone tells us we're on the right path. And for whatever that's worth, it feels really good to hear. And that we're getting this opportunity and now shift our lives in the way we want to.
Yeah, instead of looking back and thinking, oh, I should have done this, we get to look forward and say, okay, what are we going to do with what we've learned?
That is awesome.
That's why you guys have 19,000 followers on Instagram, because the rest of us are so in awe. We're oh, wow, you guys are so brave and so confident of what you're doing. I mean, it's incredible.
Aww.
So
thank you.
I think that brings us to our final 2. The first one, if people want to learn more about you, where can they find you?
Instagram's honestly the best place because I try to do that daily, and being in Europe, it's easiest. Also, the blog is a great way. Drew updates our Where Are We Now link quite often, and that's where our really informative posts go. And YouTube is really fun because I spent a lot of time editing all of our footage from last season of Vanlife Europe, and I'll do that again once I have the chance. So you don't want to miss out because we filmed some really crazy, amazing experiences in Morocco, and I really can't wait to put that together. We're not sure, though, if we'll do a full-length documentary. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we got some ideas that are brewing of how we're going to kind of put it all together.
Awesome.
Oh, man. I would totally watch that documentary.
Coming soon.
It feels like the title of it should be like, Where is Home? Because it's just like, as we're cruising around, like we're always questioning like the differences of
Going
places
home.
and going home. And our vans are rolling home. It's our little apartment that has all the amenities that just goes with us wherever we feel like.
I love it. Okay, well, I have a feeling I know the answer to this question, but what is your wildest dream? If you could do anything in the world, have any skill, what would it be?
Whoa.
Whoa.
Well, that's amazing.
I'm just going to throw something like so random out there that came to mind.
Okay.
Be a space photographer.
Ooh.
Where you go to space and you take photos of everything happening.
I love it. That is awesome.
Wow.
I've really grown to love photography throughout our travels. And there's something that can't be replaced about video because it just conveys so much more feeling and memories rather than a single photo, even though photos can't be replaced in their own way. So they both have their places.
And I would be, I would be a teacher of yoga and journaling. And I would have published books, and I would be able to go and speak at schools and recovery centers and just help people get in touch with who they are and not be afraid of sharing who that is with the outside world. I really want people to find who they are at their core and be at peace with that and love who that person is and share it in the most beautiful way possible. So yeah, that would be my dream. And then maybe if I could fly, that would be great.
Thank you guys both so much for coming on. This has been super amazing, and we really appreciate it.
Oh, well,
Thank you so much, guys.
It's been our pleasure.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. Go to our website, firedrillpodcast.com, to continue the discussion and get the link to our private Facebook group.
If you like us, leave us a review on iTunes. If you're like me, you have no idea how to do that. So, in the podcast app or in iTunes, search for Fire Drill Podcast, find it, click the Reviews tab, and write something to make my mother proud of me. We read every single review and want to say thank you from the bottom of our hearts for making this podcast possible.